And just wanted to ask how the temperature is in the room currently for everyone. Yeah, for all of you non-speakers slash speakers or speaker, how is the room temperature? You guys good? Yeah, in general? Okay, general consensus is good? Yeah, because we have the door closed today, so climate might be a little tiny bit different than what we had yesterday. All right, well, our next speaker is Jim Testa from Showsage. I've known Jim for quite a number of years now, and a lot of great experience to share. I believe you're going to be doing a case study,
Yes.
case study today.
Yep.
And yeah, so off to you, Jim. And,
Okay.
yeah, looking forward to seeing what it's all about.
I will do my best. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of a warning. I move around a lot when I talk, so hopefully that doesn't become too distracting. So as Jeff said, I'm Jim Testa, owner of Showsage, based in Chicago. And not too long ago, Christine, where's there's Christine called Marty and said, "Hey, I got great news for you. You have an opportunity to speak at the symposium." Marty came to me and said, "Hey, great news. We have an opportunity to speak at the symposium." And by we, I mean you. So I was like, well, okay. So what could I talk about? So I thought, well, we're at the LUME festival. Why not talk about another experiential, immersive experience that we've had the honor of being associated with for about a year and a half now, called the LUME Indianapolis. So for those that are paying attention, that's not a typo up there. So this is kind of a behind the curtain peek, if you will, at how a large, permanent, immersive experience came together. So first of all, what is the LUME? The LUME is a multi-sensory digital experience housed in the Indianapolis Museum of Art on the Newfields campus in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was created by Grande Experiences, which is an Australia-based production company. At more than 30,000 square feet, it is the largest contiguous exhibition in Newfield's near 140-year history. It opened in July of 2021 with a Van Gogh experience, and in the first year drew more than 235,000 visitors. This past July, the content was rotated to a impressionistic art experience called Monet and Friends. The show runs 6 days a week, generally 5 to 9 hours a day, depending upon the museum schedule and any special events that they have planned for the space. So a little bit about both Grande and Newfield. So Grande is a world leader in the design, conception, creation, production, promotion of large exhibitions and digital experiences. Their aim is to really take art and other high impact content and create really stunning, what they call masterpieces out of them. Their experiences have been executed more than 220 times across more than 170 cities, 6 continents, and have drawn more than 20 million visitors since they've been doing this. Aside from Australia, they have offices in the UK, Italy, and the US. Newfields is a art and nature not-for-profit organization based in Indianapolis. They're anchored by their 152-acre campus on which the Indianapolis Museum of Art sits. The IMA is actually one of the 10 oldest and 10 largest general art museums in the US. Newfields also has several historical and cultural properties outside of Indianapolis across the state of Indiana. We'll talk a little bit more about Grande's history here in a moment. So how did this relationship come to be? Australia company, Indianapolis Art Museum. doesn't seem like a marriage that is a natural fit. Well, before COVID, Newfields was actually exploring the concept of taking a large exhibition space and turning it into a digital experience. Upon doing their research, they came across Grande. As they learned more about Grande's work and their history, they started a conversation. And at the same time, Grande was developing the LUME platform, the LUME concept for Melbourne, Australia, which has since become known as the LUME Melbourne. So after a lot of discussions, it really became clear that the LUME platform was really a good fit for Newfield's objective of bringing a contemporary art form into a traditional art space, and that the design that Grande had developed was going to fit very, very well into this 30,000 square foot space. So how did this project kind of come together over time? Well, first of all, let's step back and look at Grande's history with this. So Grande started doing touring exhibitions in 2006. In 2010, started transition into immersive touring exhibitions. They then took that experience from that and started creating permanent immersive experiences. And all of that kind of culminated into what has become the LUME concept, with LUME Indianapolis being the first standing up of that here in the U.S. And it's really the goal of creating an immersive, interactive environment that allows people to view art in a non-traditional way. The typical time frame for Grande on a project like this is about 9 to 12 months, which they go through all the typical design steps that you would expect. But one of the things they also spend a lot of time on is venue assessment. And that becomes very critical, because imagine needing to fly a whole bunch of projectors, a whole bunch of speakers and lights in a space that was not designed for that at all. We are talking about your traditional art gallery setup inside of a museum. So they have to spend a lot of time looking at all the various issues that might present themselves: power, vibration, what the rigging requirements are going to be, any other potential surprises that might pop up. Now, fortunately for this situation, the space is actually on the top floor of the museum. So was already a lot of pre-existing structural support, trussing, and things like that for the roof that Grande was able to build off of in creating their rigging design for this. But in other situations where maybe you're on an intermediate floor, you don't have that. It can be extremely challenging to figure out how you're going to deal with all of this. So they spent a lot of time looking at that. They also, or through this process, what they've been able to do with the LUME concept is create a very modular and adaptable design, so that when they do walk into a venue, it doesn't require a great deal of redesign to fit that peg into that hole, to reference Michael, but also it gives them the opportunity to kind of weave and bob as they need to, as issues come up, as surprises present themselves. So this is the floor plan for the LUME Indianapolis. Again, about 30,000 square feet, 5 galleries, 3 of which are the projection galleries. So we have Gallery 1, Gallery 2A, and Gallery 2B. Part of Gallery 1 is that 360-degree cylinder that you see there, and that is a projected surface as well. There's an area for taking photos. There's a traditional art space as well. So one of the things that Newfields does is they will hang traditional art in that space that it matches the theme of the experience. So with Van Gogh, they actually had a Van Gogh painting, and I think a Cezanne painting in there as well. I haven't seen yet what they're doing with Monet, excuse me, but they, like I said, they'll have various paintings, traditional paintings in that space. There's an activity room, mainly for kids, a cafe, so you can go have your drink, a little snack, gift shop, you can buy your tchotchkes, your Monet or Van Gogh themed tchotchkes, and then all of this is supported by two equipment rooms between the galleries. And one of the things that Newfields has done with the space is it's opened it up for corporate and special events. So Lilly is a major corporate sponsor. So Lilly has been in there multiple times doing events for their employees and guests. Newfields is also kind of interesting, built a relationship with a local yoga studio, which periodically comes in and does an immersive yoga class inside the space. Technology. What's behind the scenes on this beast? We started out with 116 WUXGA laser projectors that has since grown by 2. 32 DMX light fixtures, which has since grown to 44. 97 speakers across 4 major audio zones. 5 wireless scent dispensers. This is multi-sensory. 29 quad output media servers in a single Watchout cluster. Lightware HDMI-based T transmitters going from between the media servers and the projectors. A production control workstation, audio server, and multiple DAs. A 10G network backbone with Wi-Fi, and 2 very large UPS units, 1 in each control room, to help manage against any potential power issues. I can eat lunch on those things, and they warm my lunch quite nicely too. On the software side, we're using DataTime Watchout for the media server, so it's driving the media playback. It's sending time code to the audio server, and it's driving the DMX fixtures. We're using Iosono for audio playback and the speaker mapping across the zones. Grande uses Nuendo for their audio production. And we're using a product called Pixie Lab Blocks for control and some ancillary media presentation. And I'll explain a little bit more what Blocks is here in a moment. Any questions on that? It is. And I'll show you how we're doing that in a minute. So on the Watchout side, we're running version 6.6.5. Van Gogh was comprised of over 1,800 individual media elements, ranging in size from 1920 by 1200 to 12,800 by 9,000, a mixture of JPEGs, PNGs, and HAP files. As I said, we're sending time code to the audio server, and we're doing that with a recorded audio track that's on the timeline. We're driving the DMX fixtures using a recorded DMX track that's also on the timeline. So once the fixtures were programmed with the console, we then connected into that network, ran the console, grabbed that DMX information into a file that Watchout then uses to play back for driving the fixtures. The cylinder that I talked about is driven by 5 3D projectors that we point at a 3D model of the cylinder, and then we put various textures on throughout the show. In addition to the main show, which by the way runs, Van Gogh was about 55 minutes. Monet is running, I think, right around 50 minutes in its final form. So, but aside from the main show, there's also various holding states that the Newfield staff can switch to at any given time. So it could be again for a corporate event is there. They want a particular look for the space, so they can switch to that. There's a thank you, goodbye, have a nice day exit state at the end of the day that they switch to, and some other states that they can go back and forth between if they need to. We also support input from an external computer via an NDI capture device, and we support the dynamic presentation of corporate logos through Watchout's image proxy media type. So companies that come in, they're given a specific format that we want their logos in. They give us the files for that. We drop them in a folder. When we bring those up, Watchout automatically pulls those out of the folder, throws them up on screen. So it's very, very simple for the staff to work with. And then we also have set up a output in Watchout that is sending status information to the control system so that we can track in real time the progress of the show. Blocks. So Blocks is a comprehensive content management, content presentation, control solution, web server based, created by a company called PixieLab. Most of you probably have not heard of PixieLab. It was started about 6 years ago by two longtime employees or former employees of Dataton, including Mike Fall, who, if you are aware of Dataton history, was the author and architect of Watchout. So there's a lot of history between the two companies, but not necessarily a lot of crossover in terms of their products. But we use Blocks primarily for the control side of it. So Blocks manages the Watchout cluster, the projectors, and the audio volume for the space. It serves up the control interface, which we can access from either desktop or an iPad that the team can walk around the space with. It's integrated with the building's alarm system so that if there is an emergency in the building, an emergency state is automatically triggered in the space. And that tells so that people then know to either exit the space or follow whatever directions they're being given at the time. And we do that using a GPIO device connected into their alarm system. So basically, alarm triggers the system. There's a contact closure. We pick up that contact closure. That tells the system, okay, go to this emergency state. 3 Blocks players, so 3 playback devices for the ancillary media presentation, and then, like I said, the real-time logging, again, capturing that tracking information from Watchout, as well as tracking any errors, warnings, and other events happening within Blocks itself as it's driving the show. So these are some examples of the control interface for the system. One of the key pages is the projector monitor status page, where we can at a glance see the status of all the projectors. Are they on? Are they connected? Are any of them throwing errors? Are there other issues that we need to be aware of? But we also have direct control over individual projectors. So if we need to mute a projector or power cycle it for some reason, we can do so without affecting all the other projectors. And then we have our master show panel for top of day, starting the show, moving into those holding states as needed, bringing up logos, bringing up the external computer, manually triggering the emergency state if we need to, and so forth. Now, you might expect that a system this complex needs a lot of care and feeding, and it does. And Newfields has developed a structured program of maintenance that they go through. So on a daily basis, there's a pre-show walkthrough, volume level is checked, any major alignment corrections are made because those projectors do drift over time. And anything else that might be affecting the visitor experience is addressed as much as it can be. On a weekly basis, which is Mondays when the experience is dark, they go through and do minor adjustments. They power cycle the servers, they do media tweaks, and they execute any special projects that might be planned for the space. On a quarterly basis, they're going through checking the fluid levels. I'm sorry, on a monthly basis, they're going through and checking the fluid levels on the scent dispensers, refilling them as necessary, and they're doing just a general cleanup of the server rooms, housekeeping in the server rooms. And then quarterly, the entire space gets a deep cleaning. Again, any major projects that need to be done are implemented, and that's when they do their projector maintenance. So they'll go through, they'll clean up the projectors, they'll clean the filters, they'll do any other maintenance on the projectors that's required at that time. So why Watchout? Well, I don't want this to be a commercial. So this is Grande's perspective on why they use Watchout. First of all, Grande has a long history of using Watchout for both their touring and their permanent experiences. They like the scalability of it. They like the hardware architecture in that the decentralized nature of it reduces critical points of failure. The functional and programming and compositing environment of the user interface is something that they have found they can work with fairly easily and efficiently. Likewise, Watchout gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of output configuration and routing. So if you all of a sudden need to move outputs around, you can do so fairly quickly to get the look that achieve the look you want. And they like Watchout's hardware flexibility. All right, you can use Datatom's hardware, you can use third-party hardware, and it gives them the opportunity or the ability to optimize their hardware choices to the particular experience that they're implementing at the time. So, for example, touring, probably going to want lighter, more compact hardware, whereas in a permanent installation, you may need bigger, more robust hardware. Some of the lessons learned. Hopefully, not a surprise, that first one, right? Planning is absolutely essential. One of the things that was a challenge is all of this was happening in the midst of the pandemic. So we got involved in late 2020, right? About this time, 2020, and all of the equipment aggregation started to happen in the first quarter of 2021. Yes, exactly. Lead time on graphics cards is how long? No, so it really created a lot of challenges, and so again, that detailed planning that Grande goes through, that modular and adaptable design that they've come up with, really served them well in this particular situation. Because aside from component and system availability, right? You had issues with access to the building, issues with contractor availability, a whole variety of things that could have really thrown a big monkey wrench into the timeline, but did not. Part of that is Grande's desire to work with trusted partners, and we're very fortunate to be included in that list. But I will tell you, Grande spends a lot of time vetting the partners that they want to work with, and they demand a lot of those partners. But they also create a very collaborative working environment with them. So it's an open, it's a objective-based relationship that allows us to sit down and talk about potential issues or existing issues and come up with practical solutions to how to address them. The other thing that Grande does well is they anticipate. They are always asking the question, what could go wrong? And this allows them to then sit down and develop plans and alternatives to various scenarios and be prepared to execute those before they actually happen. And again, I think this is partly why Grande was, along with Newfields, was able to open the LUME Indianapolis on time in July of last year. And then the last one, again, shouldn't be a surprise, but communications. Communications is key to them. Communications between Grande and Newfields, Grande and its partners, the partners in Newfields, So again, it creates this collaborative work environment where we can all sit down, have objective conversations, figure out what we need to do, and stay on path. What this ultimately has led for Grande's advantage is it allows them to do these LUME platforms in a very consistent and repeatable way, so that they can, once they stand up in one city, it's very easy and time efficient for them to now look at where's our next location, how do we stand that up? Because it's basically, in a lot of ways, it's a template, and that's not a negative thing, but right, they're able to look at it and say, okay, this is our framework, this is how we're going to fit it in, this is what these are our challenges. Now, here's how we're going to solve them. Now let's go do it. So, to Michael's point, right? They anticipate the problems, they work the problems. All right. So, in summary, the LUME represents the largest digital art experience of its scale, or the first digital art experience of its scale in the US. It's become a must-see attraction, particularly in the Midwest. Again, 235,000 visitors in the first year. It's really done a fantastic job of moving the art viewing experience from the traditional static exhibition approach into something that is interactive, immersive, engaging, yet informal and quite family friendly. I've been there at many times where a school group has come in or parents have brought in their young kids. And it's a lot of fun to see the expressions on the faces of the kids and the reactions when they walk into this immersive piece of art, right? And they're interacting with the butterflies flying across the floor, or they giggle at the little mouse that runs across, from one corner to another, or the twinkling of the stars in like Van Gogh's Starry Night. So they're getting an experience that they might not otherwise get in a traditional art setting. Their parents are bringing them in when they might not otherwise be bringing them in, and the parents are coming in when they might not otherwise be coming in. So it's really opened a lot of doors for Newfields. Again, not only in viewership, but membership opportunities and growth opportunities throughout the museum. As the former CEO of Newfields once said, the LUME Indianapolis is not just an exhibition, it's an experience. Okay. So all right, now I got to do the commercial. All right. So just a little bit about us. We're Dataton's North American master distributor. So we provide sales, support, service, training for Dataton's products. We do system design and configuration. We do build media servers, not just for Watchout, but for other media server technologies as well. And we also provide complementary components around the servers as part of a more complete system. And we work with PixieLab Blocks. We are a partner with Merging Technology, primarily for their Ovation immersive audio solution and their Horace and Happy DAs and ADs. We are a reseller of Medialon and a reseller of Lightware for signal distribution. And then we also have a sister company named Pixel Mosaic, which is a digital media creation and execution studio that works primarily in the live events space. So thank you. Thank you, Christine, for giving the opportunity to Marty. Marty, we'll have a talk later. So there's my contact information. I also included the contact information for Grande and Newfields. And if anybody after this does have questions or wants more information, feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to get back to you.